You also spend a lot of time together recording for the EAFC video game series. It was a feature of my childhood, although it went by a different name, FIFA, back then. I think, some people will know your German accent, Derek, from those games because you certainly nail it when it's time to go to the Bundesliga in EAFC world. But, you guys have to go into the studio each year together as a commentary team to record the commentary for millions of games that haven't happened yet, which I find such an interesting thing. And I've talked to Derek before about it, but how do you two, when you go in there, how do you find that dynamic? Do you just pretend that it's a real game like any other? How do you find that dynamic so it sounds?
Well, I should let you into a little. I should let you into a little secret. Is that Derek and I think Derek probably does about 20 sessions a year, and they're about 4 or 5 hours the sessions, and I do 12 sessions a year. We're probably only together for 2 of them when Derek comes over to England. I do it in a studio in the middle of London. I'm by myself, looking at nothing, just a mic in front of me. The sound technician is somewhere else in England, and the producer who's in my ear is in Canada. So that's how I do it. Derek's very fortunate that he's got a setup at home. So he has his cup of tea, he takes the dog for a walk, and then just starts getting into it.
Yeah, something like that. That's really how it works. And we do enjoy our sessions together because there are some things that have to be done together, but a lot of it doesn't. So, many is the time Stewart will hear something I've said, they'll play it for him, and he'll react accordingly, and then vice versa. Sometimes Stewart will have done the particular segment that I need to be preceding, and they'll play that for me so I know what Stewart said, and I'm, if you like, asking the question that Stewart has already answered.
The great thing about Derek, though, is that he can do it off the cuff. You remember, they're talking about doing one particular bit of action, and Derek can do about 9 or 10 versions of it without reading the lines and doing it off the cuff. I have to spend a lot of time preparing all the lines just so that we can get through the session, and I can I can't do it off the top of my head, so I have to have loads and loads and loads of work ready to spout out as Derek finishes his line that they've fed to me.
Yeah. I think I find that with the quick fire stuff that we do, it works better for me when I do it off the cuff.
Yeah, I've asked Derek this, but Stewart, I'm curious from your perspective. Derek said when I asked him that he often hears the crossbar is still reverberating, or a couple lines down that route. Do you have a line that when people run into you out in the real world, whether it's kids who play the game or fans, that they repeat back to you all the time?
No, actually, I haven't got any lines that they repeat back. They say, you're very critical when I miss a chance. And I have to explain to them, I don't know, it's them missing a chance. And I haven't seen the chance either. I've just had the description that it's a bad miss. So I have to do it in a voice that says, well, it was really poor effort there. You should do a lot better. And lots of people get upset that we're too negative about their shots and about their play. And I have to emphasize, we don't know you're playing it, and we don't see the action either. So it's just things we have to say.
Yeah, I saw some comments on, we put up a clip from one of Derek's appearances, and some of the comments are saying, stop saying that my opponent's tap-in was so impressive. People were getting very upset.
Yeah, and we always say to that, we're not in the living room actually commentating on the game. It would be fun if that were the case, but we're not.
Yeah.
The only one thing that really does annoy me, I don't know if you've heard it lately, Derek keeps interrupting me while I'm saying my line. Derek shouts, "Hang on, Stuart," and then he starts commentating. I get a bit annoyed about that. I'm in full flow and just get cut off by Derek.
Yeah, we do have that interrupt mode, which I think was brought in deliberately to try to make it a bit more seamless, because it's obviously a problem in a video game when you don't necessarily have the ability to finish cleanly. So this was kind of a way to make, if something's happening in the game and I'm rambling on about something, through something that we've recorded, Stuart can just, come in and say, "Oh, hang on, Derek, there's a chance," something like that.
I mean, it is interesting reading the comments, on your TikTok, Derek, where I got to say you're something of a star on TikTok. But, people comment sort of as if they know you. It's interesting. I remember the days when I was a kid and I played, I would have a manager mode and I'd play 10,000 games, and you start to feel like the commentator. Do you get that sense that people feel like they know you intimately almost?
I think that has been the case more and more. I think for both of us, really. And what we hear a lot, especially through TikTok, and honestly, I have not been doing TikTok that long. It started actually with the two of us doing a collaborative joint effort in Dortmund ahead of the Klassiker 2 years ago. But prior to that, I hadn't been on TikTok at all. We just did a little sort of spoof along the lines of what we normally would do prior to a game. And it seemed to get a bit of traction. But yeah, I think that what we hear a lot from people, and we're talking about the younger generation here, what we hear a lot is you guys have been with us throughout our childhood years. You are part of, if you like, our football education, our life education. So it tells you a lot about how iconic the game is, how big it is around the world. So yeah, it can be a bit strange when you get people, asking you questions as though they interact with you daily. And I think that's the modern world, though, isn't it? That's the way social media has evolved, too. And, it used to be the case, when I started in broadcasting, you didn't have access to any of your broadcasting heroes. I mean, you couldn't send an email, though there was no email. You might write a letter, and if you were lucky, you might get a reply, but maybe not. Maybe it would get lost in the post. But now I think people expect that you're there to answer their questions around the clock, which, would be nice, but it's not practical.